Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Equip Business Coaching podcast series with David Beattie. I'm Terry Turon, and today we're discussing mastering time management in real estate. Morning, David.
Morning, Terry. How are you doing?
Well, and you?
Good, thanks. Good,
thanks. Well, let's jump right into it. The obvious question, why is time management so important for estate agents?
The thing about estate agents is that when you've got an executive job or an administrative job, you've got a starting hour, you've got to be at work at 8 o'clock, you've got to finish at 5, and you've got a natural framework in which to work. As an estate agent, you have a blank slate. There is no time constraints or barriers or bosses to report to. And so therefore, there's not a natural framework in which to operate. And therefore, estate agents need to create boundaries, specifically time boundaries. And they don't, if there's no performance, estate agents don't get income. So the use of their time is really important. So you need to manage your time because you need to create a time framework in which to operate, and you need to make the time that the time that you are working super productive because you only get paid when you produce.
That's great advice, and it follows into the next question that use your time wisely and everything. But how important is setting goals and deadlines within that time? For real estate agents in managing the time effectively.
So your productivity, Terry, it's a good question. Your productivity is determined about where you're going. So why are you using your time effectively? It's because you're going somewhere, and therefore you need a goal, or we in estate agents world would call it your why. You need to know where you're going and what you're trying to accomplish. That will then give you a framework or the reason why you are making your productivity and you need to increase your productivity. So you need to have a goal so you know where you're going, so you know what activities you need to be planning. And then the reason why you have deadlines is because there's nothing like a good deadline to create some urgency. Because if you don't have that timeline, a good goal is what they call SMART goals. And that part of that, the SMART is T for time. And you need to have some time deadlines so that you can keep a sense of urgency, because if you don't do that, you're not going to produce quick enough to then get the income that you require.
Well, that actually leads on to my next question, because you set yourself a goal, you set yourself a deadline, which is fine. We've all done it, tomorrow, next week, whatever it is. But how can real estate agents effectively prioritize tasks to maximize their productivity?
So the most successful agents in the world focus their time mostly on lead generation. And so once we know what our goal is, we've got to then say to ourselves, what is the actions required to achieve that goal, or the most effective actions that are going to be there to achieve those goals. And so therefore, by knowing our priorities, we can then plan our days and our weeks effectively. And the priority, in my view, for estate agents is to, first of all, plan their lead generation activities into their week and their day.
Now, okay, we've set a deadline, we've got our structures in place, we're all ready to go. What are the biggest time management challenges that real estate agents face in their day-to-day activities, even with all their goals and structures in place?
Yeah, we get distracted. There's so many little activities to do and admin tasks to do and so forth. And it's just the general distractions of life. I've got to do this or do that task or drop the kids off, another phone call from a prospective buyer. So we just got to be careful of distractions. We sometimes may have a lack of planning. We sometimes may lack a bit of motivation. And sometimes we say we just do the easiest tasks and we don't do the most important tasks. And these are all distractions which can keep us from achieving our goals.
Yeah, we all suffer from distractions and possibly a lack of discipline sometimes.
Sure do.
Within that, what tools and techniques can real estate agents use to better manage their time and stay organized?
Yeah, what I recommend is, first of all, know your goal and have your goal in front of you, even if it's on your laptop. What I do is I write it on a piece of paper and I got it on the walls around me. So knowing your goals. And then what I do is I plan my week in advance. So on Sunday evening, I spend an hour or two thinking about what are the tasks that are required to go closer towards my goals. And then I time block, where possible, I time block. And the best estate agents in the world have got a very strong morning routine. So they're doing all their their quiet time, their meditation, their thinking, they're doing their loving time with their family. Maybe they're taking the kids to school. They've done a bit of exercise. By 8 o'clock, 8:30, they're done and dusted, done all those main activities. And 8:30, they're then putting in the lead generation activities for the next 2 to 3 hours. They're time blocking that up front. They're planning it in, and they're not allowing themselves to be distracted by the non-essentials. So I would suggest know your why, plan your week in advance, and then the night before each day, make sure that you are resetting yourself and your plan for the next day, so you're starting the day running.
Perfect. Now, the next one, and again, we all sort of go through it, and it's very important. How can real estate agents balance clients' demands and personal time effectively? Because sometimes, they're deadlines, as you said, and there's all sorts of stuff to get through, and you never know which one to put forward, to prioritize on.
I always recommend, Terry, that we set our own diaries. We don't let circumstances determine our diaries. So if I've got a strong plan and my priorities set beforehand, I'm keeping to that, first of all. So it's very easy for circumstances and priorities or externals to determine or prioritize a day, as opposed to ourselves prioritizing our day. I know that's easier said than done, but I think starting with that philosophy is a beginning point. And then we've got to set boundaries on our personal life. We've got to know what are the non-negotiables in my life. For example, I meet with my family for 6 o'clock dinner every evening. Knowing what are those non-negotiables, and then by having those non-negotiables, you're then able to have a plan for how to determine those distractions, how to work with those distractions that come. For example, you build trust with clients. You're setting your expectations with your clients up front, and then you're meeting those expectations. So in other words, I say to my clients, every Monday morning, I will then give a report of the previous week's activity with the selling of your property. And then I'll make sure I do that on a weekly basis. That means that I'm going to get less distractions, less clients calling me out of the blue wanting to know what's going on, because I've preset my routines and my expectations with my clients. So that really helps when we want to determine our diary and not let our clients determine our diary. And funny enough, as we do that, we actually end up giving better service to our clients, because actually I find clients fill in the gap when they are not given a routine and a rhythm, and expectations are not set up front. And if we do it as professionals, the clients are actually most of the time are saying, okay, that's great, I accept that.
As you say, that's very much the external, that's responding to things that happen. How can real estate agents overcome procrastination and stay focused on their tasks?
Sure. When we are working as independent agents, and really as estate agents, we are our own independent business owners, we've got to keep self-motivated. And that's easier said than done, because we go through the mountaintops and the valleys of life. So I think for me, it's simple. It's 2 or 3 things. First of all, we keep reminding ourselves of the goal. Why am I doing this? And that'll get us up, and that'll keep us overcoming procrastination. The second thing is to have a growth mindset. How am I getting better? Am I learning and growing? And the third thing is being accountable. That can be accountable to a colleague, can be accountable to a mentor, it can be accountable to a business coach, for example. So really setting up those accountabilities, I think, is really important. No matter how high up we are in our career, I don't think we can ever underestimate the value of a coach or a mentor. And then lastly is being part of a community. Really actively be part of an estate agent community. We as eXp Realty, our team is very close. There's lots of activities that's happening across multiple levels, whether it's a WhatsApp group, whether it's community meetings or trainings. So wherever you are, be part of a community wherever possible.
And now, just to finish off, I mean, we've discussed some great points there. To round off the podcast, what are some strategies for managing a busy schedule and avoiding burnout in the real estate industry?
Yeah, Terry, as much as our career is super important and it puts food on the table, nothing is more important than our own personal health and sanity. And in the people industry like we are, in the service industry like we are as estate agents, it can create quite a lot of emotional stress, and we really need to be looking after ourselves. And I think, first of all, a sense of self-awareness. knowing what I'm feeling and where I'm at in my day. Am I getting ratty because I haven't taken a break, for example? Just knowing yourself. Second of all is using routines, setting up a system of procedures. So like auto reminders. I don't have to keep thinking. So I don't ever have to put things in my mind that I must remember to do this or remember to do that. I've got little systems where I've got an auto reminder to phone this client next week, or I've got a system that every Monday afternoon I'm following up all my buyers. Every Tuesday morning I'm giving a report to my sellers, for example. So I'm not constantly keeping things in my mind. When I do have to remember something, I write it down, and then I put it on paper. So that's going to minimize your stress. And then also, just the last two things is prioritize your personal growth and health. As we get older, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I thought I would live forever and my energy levels would always be high. Unfortunately, as one gets a bit older, those energy levels is not as consistent. And therefore, you have to prioritize your personal health. Whether it's exercise, going for a walk, spending time doing things that you love, fun things, having a hobby, for example. And then for more experienced agents, I would highly recommend getting a personal assistant. A personal assistant is going to then get you to do all the low value tasks, administration and so forth, to then allow you to focus on the high value tasks. And that will also minimize stress.
David, thank you so much for your time today. Those were invaluable insights into managing your time in the real estate industry. And you've been listening to the Equip Business Coaching podcast series with David Beattie. Join us again. Thanks, David.